it's Monday, the day after Palm Sunday. Peter wakes up excited about all that had happened the day before, not really sure how Monday could be any greater than Palm Sunday. Quickly eating some fish and chips, looking for the other disciples, looking for Jesus. I assume Jesus was probably up early in the morning, praying as he normally did. The disciples all gathering together, ready to see what was going to happen on this Monday during Holy Week. We'd been staying in Bethany because Bethany was a great location for Jesus and all of us to stay outside of Jerusalem. It was about 2 miles away. Speaking of Bethany, I remember the last time we were here. It was Lazarus. Do you remember what happened to Lazarus? Maybe of all the miracles that we saw, this was the greatest. We had heard that Lazarus was sick, and Jesus was busy doing what Jesus does. He was teaching and healing and working. And so we stayed for another 2 days. Then we headed to Bethany. When we arrived, we had found that Lazarus had already been dead for 2 days. He'd been in the tomb for 4. There was a lot of Jews that had come to pay their respects to Mary and to Martha and to the family, because it was only just 2 miles outside of Jerusalem. I'll be honest, it was really hard to see Martha that first day. Every time we had spent time with her and Mary, she was always serving, she was always giving, she was always doing so much to take care of all of us and to take care of Jesus. But today, Martha was weeping. And she kept saying to Jesus, if you just would have been here, Lazarus would still be alive. And then Jesus said something I'll never forget. He looked at her and he said, Lazarus will rise. Lazarus will rise. And immediately, Martha looked up from her tears and she said, well, Jesus, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. So she had heard Jesus speak about this before, but Jesus spoke in a way that seemed to make time stand still and for the sun to just stand in its place. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. He said, whoever believes in me, though he die, yet he shall live. And everyone who believes in me, he said, will never die. And he looked at Martha and he said, do you believe this? Martha, she said to him, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. She embraced him, and it was like she couldn't let him go. I couldn't if I was her. His words were powerful, and in that moment, even in the face of death, it felt like everything was going to be okay. Martha then ran to get Mary. She wanted Mary to see Jesus, and Mary quickly did the same thing. She ran to Jesus, and she wrapped her arms around her Lord, her teacher, her friend, and she began to weep, and she said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would still be alive. And she began to weep uncontrollably. The moment before seemed to pass away, and we remembered that Lazarus was still in the tomb. Everybody was crying. The Jews were crying, the disciples were crying, Mary was crying, I was crying. And then Jesus said, where have you laid him? And we went to the tomb. And can I just say it was overwhelming? The tomb was in front, or the stone was in front of the tomb, and the emotion of loss, that it's not supposed to be this way. And I looked over at Jesus, and I saw him do something I've never seen him do before. He wept. Jesus wept. And we just knew, we knew that Jesus loved us, but man, he must have loved Lazarus so much. And even in the midst of that, I saw some of the religious leaders there. They were scoffing, and they were like, isn't this the man who made the blind see and the lame walk? And they weren't lying. I mean, this is the same guy. If he could have done that, why couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying? Why did Jesus allow this to happen? I think we were all asking that same question. Well, then Jesus shocked us all. He said to the tomb, he said, Lazarus, come out. And we're all thinking to ourselves, Jesus, Lazarus has been in the tomb for 4 days, and the smell, it's not going to be so good. The odor is going to be bad. And Jesus says to Martha, did I not tell you that if you believed that you would see the glory of God? And so they took the stone and rolled it away. And Jesus lifted up his eyes into heaven. He said these words. He said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you would always hear me, but I said this on account of the people that are standing around, that they may believe that you sent me. And then he said, Lazarus, come out. And all I can tell you is that from that moment until the moment Lazarus came out, I was holding my breath. And here he comes. All of the wrappings, the burial wrappings all around his body, stumbling out, but he's alive. And Jesus says to unbind him. Let him go because he's alive. That was the last time we were in Bethany. And now we're heading back down to Jerusalem from Bethany, and I'm thinking about all of this, and Jesus stops by this fig tree, and he looks at the fig tree, and he curses it. He curses this fig tree. This tree had leaves, but no fruit, and we were wondering why he did this, and Jesus then says, may no fruit ever come from you again, and it withered right before our eyes. I'll never forget what he said. He said this, truly, I say to you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what has been done to the fig tree, but even if you say to this mountain, be taken up and be thrown into the sea, it will happen. And whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive if you have faith. All leaves and no fruit. All expectation, no satisfaction. We did not know it then, but we would one day remember that Jesus was warning about coming judgment that was going to come on an unfruitful Israel. All leaves and no fruit. Jesus was about to judge a generation of those who had been practicing rites and rituals of a fruitless religion. And it wasn't just those in the temple. He was judging all faithless worship. We entered the temple, and I'll be honest, it felt different that day, that Monday. I looked around and everything was different. I mean, people were doing what they'd always been doing. They were selling pigeons and different things so that they could go and make sacrifice, but it wasn't the same. It felt empty. It felt shallow. It felt wrong. And then it happened. I mean, Jesus just started driving everybody out of the temple, and all the money changers and tables were being flipped over, and he was saying things. We couldn't hear everything he was saying, but then in like a righteous anger, he said out loud, he says, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of robbers. This made a lot of people really angry. The scribes and the Pharisees, they were so jealous of Jesus. They didn't like how Jesus had the crowd's attention. He was always teaching with authority. We knew that something was brewing. Something was going to happen. We could just feel it. It got dark, and so we started to walk back to Bethany, and I just knew that something was about to happen. I just couldn't tell what it was. That was Monday.